And for those of you who don't know us yet, Fourspace, physically located at Concordia, is really a university-wide space and platform focused on working collaboratively with our community, students, staff, and faculty to create programming across all disciplines. And these last months, we've been working virtually to make all of this happen. So that's why we're so excited to be hosting Concordia's first ever virtual 3MT competition today. With the virtual format, of course, comes some challenges. With today's heat and thunderstorms may come some electricity and connection issues. And just to let everyone know, we'll work through it together to get people back on the call if that happens. We're grateful to the School of Graduate Studies and GradProSkills at Concordia for their flexibility in adapting today's event to this virtual format. Thank you to the master's and doctoral students who will be presenting their research, and to the MCs and judges for offering their time and expertise. So it's my pleasure now to hand over the screen, if you will, to one of our MCs for today, Zarina Evangelista. Welcome, Zarina.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2020 Concordia 3-Minute Thesis Competition. My name is Zarina, and I'm your Master of Ceremonies for today.
Et bonjour et bienvenue au concours Ma thèse en 180 secondes, le 8e ici à Concordia. Je m'appelle Nadine Descouches et je serai aussi maître de cérémonie aujourd'hui.
Thank you for joining us to support our participants today. An important part of research is being able to share it with people who are not experts in our field and to convince them of its importance. This part of our work can sometimes be neglected, so opportunities like this are very important. We appreciate your support for our participants. Last year, I was participating in the 3-Minute Thesis competition. I remember my heart was beating so fast and I couldn't sit still. But I calmed myself down by taking deep breaths and telling myself that I'm ready for this. So to all our presenters, just remember that you've worked hard to make it here and you're gonna be excellent. To the audience, we're so excited for you to hear the great presentations that all of our presenters prepared, and just to hear all the great research that's taking place here at Concordia.
So let's go through our program for today. After the opening remarks given by Dr. Brad Nelson, our Associate Dean of Academic Programs and Development, we'll jump right into our master's presentations. When the master's portion is completed, we'll move into the People's Choice voting for the master's level. So at that point, we'll be sending out links that you, our viewers, can cast for your favorite presentation. Oh, sorry, that you can use to cast your vote. Then we'll move into our doctoral presentations. So here we have presenters in both English and in French. Our English presenters are competing in the 3MT, and our French presenters are competing in a parallel competition, Ma thèse en 180 secondes, where they also have 3 minutes to wow you with their research. These are followed again by People's Choice voting, where you can cast your vote for your favorite doctoral level presentation. At this point, while waiting to compile the final vote tallies and get the final results from the judges, we have a few minutes to reflect back over the past few months. And today we've prepared a short video for you to show you the kind of work that our participants have put in to the competition today. When we have the final decisions, we'll jump right into the announcements of today's competition winners.
I guess it's my turn. We're delighted to welcome everyone here to Concordia's 9th 3-Minute Thesis competition. Many of you have probably heard of the 3MT, but for those who are attending for the first time for me attending on Zoom, I will take a moment to provide a little background on the competition. So this competition started at the University of Queensland in Australia in 2008, but it quickly became very popular and a worldwide event. Currently, there are competitions in almost 900 universities in 85 countries. The 3MT challenges each participant to communicate the importance of their research in a clear and compelling way with just one static PowerPoint slide. So imagine after spending a couple of years in graduate school in the library, learning new theoretical terms, learning new equations, all the lingo that your professors have been instilling in you so that you can communicate in higher education. Now you have to present your research to a lay audience in 3 minutes in a summary fashion without diluting it or omitting any key points, possibly even teaching us some new language at the same time. As we do every year, we invited all our graduate students to participate in the competition. 77 of our students registered for the orientation sessions, of which 58 participated in the coaching sessions. And I'd like to thank all of our coaches for helping all of the graduate students out. Of these 58, 19 finalists are here who have accepted the challenge, and they will lead us through their innovative research using everyday language, and they'll show us how their work can change the world. After the presentations, our judges will be selecting a winner and runner-up in both the master's and doctoral categories. You, the audience, will also have the opportunity to vote for a People's Choice Award in both the master's and the doctoral categories, which Zarina will explain after the participants' presentations. From our finalists, one student will be selected to represent Concordia University at the 3MT Eastern Regional Final Competition. Another participant will represent Concordia at the Francophone competition, Ma thèse en 180 secondes. I would like to point out that our champions here at Concordia have won the Northeastern Association of Graduate School competition, as well as the National CAGS competition. So we have some excellent coaches here. And I'd like to thank Rasha and Christy Clark for organizing this event, and thank all their team as well. In addition, I applaud all the participants for accepting the challenge, and I wish each of you the best of luck today. Let us all encourage them with a big round of applause. Does that work on Zoom? Anyway, now I'll invite Zarina, our doctoral winner from last year's competition, to introduce our judges. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. Now I'd like to introduce our esteemed judges who have graciously accepted to give us their time this afternoon. They have the tough job of selecting today's winners. So first we have Inder Bedi. Mr. Bedi has been exploring the crossroads of sustainability and fashion since 1995, when he launched his vegan brand, Mat and Nat, which was based on a paper written at JMSB. He left the brand he founded 2 decades later to launch 457anew.com. This latest venture is focused on the local production of outerwear, knits, and accessories using landfill-destined materials with the goal of closing the loop in fashion. Our second judge is Dr. Amanda Rossi. Dr. Rossi is a Concordia alum. She received her bachelor's and master's in exercise science and PhD in the individual program in pure sciences at Concordia. Dr. Rossi is the Director of Business Development at MyTax. Her role at MyTax is to connect university-based researchers with industry and community partners to drive economic development in Canada through collaborative, innovative projects, and simultaneously engage graduate students in work-integrated learning experiences. And our third judge is Sujan Susaithes. Mr. Susaithes is also a Concordia alum. He received his bachelor's and master's in engineering. He's worked at Pratt & Whitney, Canada, Air Canada Technological Services, and Bombardier. He's also on the board of directors of companies leading transformation and new product development in sectors related to real estate, health and beauty, and technology. Over the years, Mr. Susaithes has become an authority in preparing and presenting information to various types of audiences, including professional executives, subject matter experts, and general stakeholders. We thank you all for your time this afternoon and are honored to have you as our judges today. Now let's talk about the rules of the competition. This is important because you will also take place in the role of judge through your votes for the People's Choice Award, which I'll explain in a moment. So for the presentations, participants can only use one PowerPoint slide with no animations. Additional electronic media and props are not allowed. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes maximum, and competitors exceeding 3 minutes will be disqualified. And lastly, the decision of the judges is final. There are three main categories of criteria: communication, comprehension, and engagement. Each criterion will be scored out of 10 points, and the presenters with the highest scores win. The first criteria is communication. Here we're asking, did the presenter use clear, jargon-free language that can be understandable to a general audience? Did the presentation follow a logical flow? The second criteria is comprehension. Here we're asking, did the presenter clearly outline the nature and purpose of their research? Did they describe the impact and results of their research? Did the presentation provide an understanding of the background and significance to the research question being addressed? And the third criteria is engagement. Here we're asking, did their PowerPoint slide enhance the presentation? Was it clear, legible, and concise? Did the presenter capture and maintain the audience attention? And did they inspire you to know more? Now for awards. Both winners at the master's and PhD level will receive an award of $750. The runners-up will receive $150, and there will also be 2 People's Choice Awards, one at the master's level and one at the doctoral level. For each level, you'll be invited to vote for your top presenter. The voting will take place after each level has completed their presentation. So at the end of the master's presentation, we'll post a link in the chat box for you to vote for your top master's presentation. You'll have the opportunity to vote for within 5 minutes. We'll do the same at the end of the doctoral presentations. Also, we'd like to encourage you to post about this event on social media using the hashtag Canada3MT and hashtag 3MTCU2020. Also, please feel free to tag us at GradProSkills on Twitter and on Facebook, and as well as on Instagram. So now we'll start with the master's presentation. Let's wish all the participants good luck. Our first presenter today is Jeremy Ullman from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Jeremy is pursuing a Master of Arts in Psychology. His thesis title is Structural Disambiguation of English Trimorphemic Words, and his 3-minute thesis title is Doing the Undoable. Good luck, Jeremy.
By the end of my degree, I will have spent over 100 weeks trying to figure out what's happening in your head when you look at the word on the slide. It may seem harmless, the word undoable. Seeing or hearing the word is easy. You just did it twice. But the transition to understanding is much more complex. If you look closely, we can see the word undoable is made up of 3 parts: un, do, and able. What we don't see, which is what I'm interested in, is that these pieces, which are the building blocks of meaning, fit together in 2 different ways, making the meaning of undoable ambiguous. Now, ambiguity poses a very real barrier to language comprehension. To illustrate this, here's an example of undoable in 2 different sentences. Number 1, when I tried to undo the damage, I noticed it was undoable. So here we take undoable to mean can be undone. What about this sentence? When I tried to do some damage, I noticed that it was undoable. Now we take undoable to mean cannot be done. We're hearing the same word, but we're arriving at a different understanding. Here, each sentence has a context, and it biases one interpretation over another. My current research is at the intersection of psychology and linguistics. I'm taking sentences like these and I'm presenting them 1 word at a time in rapid succession at the center of the screen. I can shift the positioning of that final ambiguous word to make you focus more on undo or undoable. And that's going to force you down one path of interpretation over another. In doing this, I'm hoping to answer 2 research questions. Number 1, how confused do you get when I force you down an incorrect path of interpretation based on the sentence context? To answer this question, I can butter you up with the word undo in the first half of the sentence and force you to see doable. I'm expecting that this incongruity is going to slow down your understanding, and I can measure that. The second question is, how do you interpret undoable when the sentence context is neutral or unbiased? For example, the judge thought about whether the damage was undoable. Okay, so Jeremy, why are you studying these ambiguous words? That's a great question. It's that the organization of the three pieces in these particular words provides a unique way to tap into the fundamental nature of seeing, hearing, and understanding language. If I'm successful, I'll be able to explain some of the deepest levels of language comprehension. So it's time to do the undoable.
Thank you, Jeremy. Our second presenter is Sadaf Mohammadi from the Genus Coady School of Engineering and Computer Science. Sadaf is pursuing a Master of Applied Science in Mechanical Engineering. Her thesis title is Particle Diagnostic in Suspension Spray. And her 3-minute thesis title is Painting on It to Protect. Good luck, Sadaf.
Imagine you have an emergency flight to go home to take care of an emergency matters, or to visit your dearest family that you haven't seen for a long time. Or let's say you have to go on a business trip that there is no way to cancel it or postpone it. So everything is set, you pack your stuff and you're ready to go. But boom, just few hours before your departure, your flight got canceled and you cannot get on the airplane. Now imagine you are frustrated, angry, and there are no alternative flight that you can take. All you need is to know the answers. So you walk to the airline check-in counter and ask the gentleman sitting there, what is the issue? He says, the engine is broken. Broken? Interesting. A guy doesn't know that you have a degree in mechanical engineering and you don't accept it so easily. So next question comes in, how come it's broken? Overheating, thermal shocking. Obviously, no one wants to get on the plane that the engine is overheating. So it should be a way to fix this problem. Now, you're thinking, and you come up with an idea. In aerospace industry, a protective layer has been created by the plasma spray. You may want to know what is the plasma spray? A tiny micrometer particles melted by the plasma that is hot as sun and then sprayed on the surface. But wait. This process, it's not as easy I explained. There are a lot of parameters that need to get controlled, like temperature, velocity, and the size of these tiny particles. This research is fascinating for me, not because of my research. The fact I like it is resembled to the art of the painting to me. Let's put it this way. When it comes to the painting, what does it most matters to you? How fast you want to finish your painting? You just want to the paint to the canvas to create bumpy as character? Or no, you just want to sit down and render everything to have a uniform structure? This is where my research comes in. We know the process. If we know that how fast these tiny particles move, we can control this challenging process. In our lab, we use a technique that measures the velocity by using high-power laser and a camera. In harsh conditions, 100 images can be remotely captured in less than a few minutes. And then by analyzing and processing these images, we can obtain the velocity and visualize the behavior of these tiny particles, which enable us to control this process and have a better protective layer. So this is my goal, to come up with a doable process that's not only applicable in all protective layers, but also no one misses any flight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sadaf. Our third presenter is Joshua Oliver from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Joshua is pursuing a Master of Science in Biology. His thesis title is Characterization and Functional Assessment of Saccharomyces cerevisiae-derived exosomes for Next-Gen Therapeutics. And his 3-minute thesis title is They Shall Pass. Good luck, Joshua.
What a haunting situation that must be, to look at a photograph of a young, beautiful, smiling person and be reminded daily that that was you at one point in time. Now that is the reality of Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's affects 50 million people worldwide, and this number is expected to rise to 152 million people by the year 2050. It is a challenging disease to treat because of something called the blood-brain barrier, the border between our bloodstream and our brain, which limits entry of therapeutic drugs into our brain. However, researchers might have found a herd of Trojan horses that can revolutionize how we treat this disease. They are called exosomes. Exosomes are these nano-sized messengers which establish lines of communication between our cells. Similar to how we exchange words with one another, exosomes are the words spoken by our cells. Now, because of their small size, they can cross the blood-brain barrier and be used to deliver drugs to the brain on a nano scale. However, the first step that must be taken is to design a strategy to collect these exosomes from our cells. Now, progress has been made thus far, but still there's no universal way to collect these exosomes from our cells, and this is what limits their therapeutic potential. In my research, I study yeast, an organism that is commonly used to make bread, but also communicates using these exosomes. But why yeast? Well, yeast is functionally versatile and cheap, making it both a biologically and economically attractive model to study for therapeutic applications. The research question I asked myself is, how can I design yeast exosomes to function as a drug delivery system? As a biologist, what I do is I collect exosomes from yeast and study their size, structure, and identify what's inside them. So far, I have successfully designed, tested, and confirmed a strategy to reproducibly collect exosomes from yeast. The next step my lab will take will be to package drugs into them and assess their ability to target and release drugs to human cells. Now, if we are successful, returning to the treatment of Alzheimer's disease, exosomes will symbolically represent a company of Trojan horses, all with the ability to sneak past the blood-brain barrier and tactically release the drug within the brain to combat the disease. This form of drug delivery will revitalize the memories embedded in timeless photographs and have those very photographs greeted with a youthful smile. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joshua. We're halfway through the master's presentations. Our next presenter is Sarah Rahimi from the John Molson School of Business. Sarah is pursuing a Master of Science in Management. Her thesis title is Does Industry Gender Composition Influence CEO Compensation? And her 3-minute thesis title is Do Male and Female Dominated Industries Influence CEO Pay? Good luck, Sarah.
Sally is the CEO of a fashion company, while George is the CEO of an oil company. Who do you think will make more money? I was interested in finding out whether women and men CEOs are paid equally or not, because until recently, there were very few women CEOs, so research on this topic was limited. There is an abundance of research that looks at the pay gap between men and women, but the few that looked at CEOs found mixed results. Of the few studies that looked at CEOs, only a few considered male and female dominated industries and whether this weakened or strengthened the income gap between men and women. A female dominated industry has 50% or more women employees, such as education or health services, whereas a male dominated industry has 50% or more male workers, such as manufacturing or construction. Another way my analysis was unique is when running the analysis, I used a technique that clustered the firms so that the analysis would recognize that the data was not random. Most of the other studies did not do this, but you need to because the salaries will be similar from one year to the next. They won't be completely random. I collected data from 2010 to 2018 from publicly available databases. My final sample included 3,095 men CEOs and 182 women CEO total observations. Unlike other analysis, I used an analysis that took the average and was not heavily influenced by missing data. Surprisingly, I found that CEOs' pay was not based on their gender or their industry. Rather, CEO pay is based on performance. This is amazing news because it means that although there are few women compared to men CEOs, they are being paid based on their performance and not on their gender or whether it's an industry that's male or female dominated. This means that equality is possible and is prevailing at the CEO level. Now, let's go back to Sally and George. If Sally is the CEO of a fashion company and George is the CEO of an oil company, will they make the same salary? No, but if they're both the CEO of an oil company, then yes, they will make the same salary or a similar salary because pay is not based on industry type or gender. At the CEO level, it's based on performance. We as a society are on our way to narrowing the income inequality gap. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sarah. Our next presenter is Roy Zhou from the Gina Cody School of Engineering and Computer Science. Roy is pursuing a Master of Applied Science in Electrical and Computer Engineering. His thesis title is Mobi Log Leak, a preliminary study on data leakage caused by poor logging practices. And his 3-minute thesis title is Mobile Data Leakage. Good luck, Roy.
Can you imagine your password is leaked by your phone? Well, your smartphone might not be trustworthy because it records your favorite apps, records everything you do on your phone. Some of the data is pretty sensitive, like your password, location, and your preference. The data is easy to access, and it can be used by some people you don't know. They can buy a house and get the loan in your name. I want to know how come is the data leakage problem and why do the apps have this kind of problem? To answer this question, I manually test 5,000 mobile apps on Google Play, manually look at the app's code and check the program functions. What I found was 200 mobile apps have data leakage problem. Some of the apps are labeled as business or finance by Google Play, and they have been installed by 100 million times. So that's really a serious problem. The data includes your password, location, email, and the message you sent. The reason why is many mobile developers don't realize the potential threats and they forget to erase the data in time. I report some findings to Google, and after 1 month, we test them again. Very good. The new version is fixed. To solve the problem forever, we need to have the detector which could test all the available apps. So far, all the experiments done by manually. So the next step, I'm trying to develop the software which could automatically test the code and generate the report to the developers. And by the end of my master, I'm hoping we will have the software detector so we can protect our data. Now, I would like to end with a question. Do you still trust your smartphone? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roy. Our last presenter in the master's category is Cheseline Pierre-Paul from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Cheseline is pursuing a Master of Arts in French Studies. Her thesis title is Online Transracial Oral Indigenousness, and her 3-minute thesis title is Positive Visibility. Good luck, Cheseline.
So as you know, this is not French, and this is not English. This is my beautiful native indigenous language, Haitian Creole. And let me share with you a thing or two about the tremendous irony and paradox of it all. So those words I just used, they're one of the most iconic pieces of our most contemporary indigenous literature. It's from a novel called Des Affaires. So that's what you saw on my slide. And here is where the irony and the paradox starts. On one hand, you need to recognize that very few native Haitian Creole speakers can actually read and write in their own indigenous language. So on one hand, we have the single most emblematic piece of our whole written indigenous culture, But also conversely, it happens that it is arguably the most inaccessible piece of our whole indigenous repertoire in terms of written history. And then for good measure, also factor in the fact that Haiti is a country that houses the largest Creole-speaking community in the whole planet. So that's what I meant by paradox. So that's the thing with visibility and quote unquote visible minorities. We are seen, we're not heard. We're both simultaneously positively underrepresented and negatively overrepresented. So we're a paradox. And then my question as a researcher became viscerally, how can I self-determinately make it so that my own indigenous voice, culture, present, oral story gets visibilized on my own terms through creation and positive disruption? And then my answer came to me as, so in other words, get your stuff together and show them. So right now I'm doing my master's in translation studies, and it's a creation research project where I will be with my team of self-translators, collaborators, and storytellers, taking our own iconic pieces of indigenous knowledge orally, and then sharing this with you through a platform, and would be shareable, like free downloadable tracks that you can use, kind of like a music album. And to ensure that we always keep the focus on the oral dimension of it all, we're going to be taking voice acting lessons so that our positive self-determined visibility can become your immersive reality. And then we can share emotions like caution, or surprise, or sarcasm. So when you look at my quote, it means time goes, it doesn't come back. So this is my time to be able to create my own brand of grassroots, translation-based, native, indigenous, beautiful social justice movement. As the first time in my history that I have the opportunity to self-determinately use my background and to give it the visibility it deserves. And one day you too will recognize. Thank you.
Thank you, Shazleen. So this concludes the master's level presentations. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. So thanks to all the presenters for the very engaging presentations. We invite you to take a moment to vote for your favorite master's presentation. We'll post a link in the chat box and on Facebook. Please click on the link to cast your vote. You'll have around 5 minutes to cast your vote before we move to the doctoral presentations. So please stand by, we'll be back shortly. Welcome back, everyone. We will now start with the doctoral presentations. In the doctoral category, we have a total of 13 presentations. 11 presenters will be competing in the English competition, and 2 presenters will be competing in the Francophone competition. Let's wish them all good luck. Our first presenter is Asfar Adib from the Gina Cody School of Engineering and Computer Science. Asfar is pursuing a PhD in electrical and computer engineering. His thesis title is Analyzing a Blockwise Non-Local Means Denoising Filter for Skin Images. And his 3-minute thesis title is Clearer Skin Image for Better Diagnosis. Good luck, Asfar.
Imagine one fine morning, you suddenly notice something abnormal in your skin that can make you anxious, because skin cancer is currently the most common form of cancer in North America, and around 20% Canadians are suffering from some sort of skin disease. So what do you do next? You can try for a doctor's appointment, but that may take some time to avail. And as we all know, your wait can be longer if the healthcare system is already quite loaded. So how about if you try something different? You just take your phone, then you capture an image of the problematic skin area, then you upload the image through a verified mobile app, which will share you the results after a quick diagnosis. This sounds pretty handy, but only if the diagnosis is accurate, and that is what my research is about. Now, the very first step for an accurate diagnosis is to make the image free from noise. what is noise in this case? This basically means something unwanted in the image that can occur due to various factors. For example, when we are capturing the image, our hands can shake a little bit, or there can be some misadjustment in camera parameters. To make an image noise-free, the blockwise technique is quite popular. In a traditional blockwise technique, the entire image is divided into equal-sized rectangular or square-shaped blocks. Then, from each of these blocks, noise is removed gradually. Now, if the image is small, this technique works quite fine. But if the image becomes larger with more variation in color or pattern, then this traditional technique starts working slowly. To overcome that, I have developed a dynamic blockwise approach. In my approach, the blocks may not be same in size or shape. Rather, using machine learning techniques, they are drawn dynamically, making it sure that image pixels having same color or pattern always fall under the same block. And using this approach, so far I have observed 4% faster result in comparison with the traditional blockwise approach, and the accuracy is also expected to be better. That is going to be the next stage of my research. Moving ahead, I plan to develop a reliable and fast skin disease diagnosis app, which can help you with a quick detection whenever you need, so that you do not need to wait for a doctor's appointment, and it can reduce some load on our public healthcare system. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Asfar. Our second presenter is Tina Orche from the Faculty of Fine Arts, Contextualizing Art and Science, engaging girls with science and engineering through the integration of art. And her 3-minute thesis title is Imagine Aliens. Good luck, Bettina.
When I was a teenager, my high school math teacher took attendance at the beginning of the school year. When it came to my name, he released an audible sigh, Bettina. I laughed along with the joke because, like so many girls, I too believe that my talents lay elsewhere. In fact, girls, especially in their teenage years, tend to drop out of science. While tests show that girls do as well as boys in science and math, girls typically underestimate their abilities in this field, and in any case, they feel that science is rather unfeminine. Instead, they tend to gravitate toward the arts, which are traditionally seen as a more feminine pursuit. As did I. Ended up going to art school, and today I'm a trained artist. But I've always loved science, and I'm a passionate amateur astronomer. In fact, I make astronomical art. So I wondered, could I use art as an access ramp to science? I'm currently designing a workshop titled Imagine Aliens. It is aimed at teenagers and will be presented as part of the YMCA Concordia Fine Arts Summer Camp. It invites participants to imagine alien landscapes and life forms using photography and painting and video, and all this based on real science. Due to the current COVID-19 crisis, I'm actually planning to deliver the entire workshop online. Based on my current research, I'm predicting that the teenagers will realize that art and science have a lot in common. Both are based on experimentation, research, and a profound appreciation for the natural world. Based on the teenagers' feedback, I will be able to redesign and iterate the workshop 3 times over the summer. This data will also allow me to ascertain whether they have actually learned any science and whether their perception of science has shifted. I'm predicting that the fusion of art and science will disrupt the associated gender stereotypes and create a more equitable learning environment. I hope that my PhD research will generate theories that will be applied to the way science is taught in Canadian schools all over the world. I want to see more women in science. It turns out that both my math teacher and I underestimated my science abilities. I hope that in future, girls will charge ahead and ignore a teacher's sigh. Thank you.
Thank you, Bettina. Our third presenter is Ehsan Yazdanpana Moghadam from the Gina Cody School of Engineering and Computer Science. Ehsan is pursuing a PhD in mechanical engineering. His thesis title is Study Migration of Immune Cells of the Brain in Alzheimer's Condition Using Microdevices. And his 3-minute thesis title is Modeling Alzheimer's Disease on a Microdevice. Good luck, Ehsan.
I can't forget those days when my aunt, who I love unconditionally, lost her memory and she needed to be careful constantly. It was so painful for me when I saw her anxiety, depression, and fear. She was suffering from a terrible disease, Alzheimer. Although Alzheimer's disease has received much research attention so far, there is no effective treatment. In Alzheimer, a type of abnormal protein accumulation promotes neuron cells death. But the dysfunction of the immune cells of the brain induces more these toxic protein accumulations, which progresses Alzheimer. To study on Alzheimer, there are two main methods: animal models and biological techniques. Because of high costs in animal models, biological techniques are utilized that aren't highly precise. I've designed microdevices to study the cell's activities in Alzheimer in a more precise and inexpensive method. This microengineering device is like a tiny lab can recreate a microenvironment of Alzheimer's brain condition for the cells. The device is printed with the cell-compatible material and consists of few microchannels. Through the microchannels, the cells and proteins are loaded to the device, and then fluid flow and the temperature are controlled in such a way that the microenvironment of Alzheimer's brain is mimicked. In my research, by tracking the immune cells of the brain in the device, I've analyzed their mobility toward the toxic proteins in Alzheimer, and then compare my results with the regular approach. Using these novel microdevices, the cell's activity can be studied precisely because a similar environment of Alzheimer's brain is created for the cells. In addition, due to the micro-scale device dimensions, I require the minimal samples and reagents in experiments, which makes this method cheaper than the conventional approach. I believe the microdevices can be used as alternative platforms for accurate studies on Alzheimer and help us step forward to its treatment in the future. And again, none of our loved ones pass away because of Alzheimer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ehsan. Our fourth presenter is Erica Pimentel from the John Molson School of Business. Erica is pursuing a PhD in business administration. Her thesis title is 3 Essays on Auditors and Their Work. And her 3-minute thesis title is, What Do You Do? Good luck, Erica.
What's the first thing you ask someone when you meet them at a cocktail party? What do you do? Well, what does that tell us about a person? We ask that question because what people do for work can have huge implications for how they perceive themselves and how we perceive them in turn. Now, I've been a chartered professional accountant for close to 10 years. And let me tell you, that has huge implications for how I perceive myself, my identity, and can be an important source of meaning and purpose. But my profession is changing. My profession is facing tremendous disruption from new technologies like artificial intelligence and blockchain. Some research suggests that much of what accountants do is going to be automated away in the next 15 years. So how can we help folks who, like accountants, have jobs that are facing extinction find meaning at work specifically now that many of us are working remotely or working from home, and those traditional ways of creating a sense of community in the workplace have been upended. My research explores how accountants find meaning and satisfaction, specifically in settings where their work is said to have no value. To do that, I've embedded myself in an accounting firm for close to 2 years to understand how accountants communicate and behave. Now, this is fairly uncommon in accounting research, but it's allowed me to make deep connections with the folks I'm studying to get to the heart of how they find meaning at work. I've now extended my fieldwork to do interviews using Zoom and Skype to see how working in a virtual workplace impacts how we communicate with our clients, our colleagues, and fundamentally changes how we find meaning at work. So far, I've learned that when faced with the reality that their work might have no value, accountants redesign their work to focus on tasks that allow them to align their values, morals, and actions. They change how they speak about the profession to cast themselves in a more positive light. They also repackage their skills to expand their value proposition into new areas. Now, the implications that this is going to have for a new generation of accountants coming in at a time of tremendous disruption is yet unknown. So far, my research suggests this has profound implications on their behaviors, attitudes, and sense of responsibility towards the public. Now, of course, whether this represents a fundamental change or something temporary is something I'm trying to tease out. Altogether, my research aims to understand how we can help accountants or anyone whose work is facing disruption find meaning, specifically when their work is said to have no value. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Our next presenter is Mohammed Mahdi Nasiri from the Gina Cody School of Engineering and Computer Science. Mohammed is pursuing a PhD in mechanical engineering. His thesis title is Study of Hollow Droplet Flattening and Solidification in Plasma Spraying, and his 3-minute thesis title is Engineering Single Droplets to Save Lives. Good luck, Mohammed.
After months of hard work, you give yourself a break and you are flying to a beautiful destination for vacation. But in the middle of the flight, you hear, this is your captain speaking. Our engine is on fire and we need to have emergency landing. In situations like this, I would have preferred to stay at my office instead of going for a vacation. Engine failure is one of the frequent causes of airplane crashes, which leads to thousands of casualties. Engineers want to design safer engines which can resist high temperatures. The best solution for this problem is to cover single engine parts with a good isolation. Ceramic is the best option that we have in the industry because it has low thermal conductivity. However, there are better options in the nature. For instance, air, which has even lower thermal conductivity compared to ceramic. But what is my job? As a researcher, I investigate fundamental phenomena. I study the behavior of a single droplet during falling and impact on a surface. You probably have seen similar phenomena when you add a drop of milk into your coffee. But there are some differences. In my case, my droplet is made of molten ceramic. Its temperature is higher than 2000 degrees Celsius. Its size is smaller than the thickness of a hair. And there is a small bubble entrapped inside of this droplet. This unique droplet is called hollow droplet. And I'm going to use it to produce a thermal barrier coating. But how? When a hollow droplet impacts on a surface, it spreads and solidifies and makes a very thin layer. When another hollow droplet impacts on the surface, it forms another layer on top of this layer. But there is a gap between these two layers. The repetition of this process produces a coating in the shape of French cheese. A French cheese which is made of ceramic. The size of the gap inside these French cheese can be manipulated by changing droplet velocity, droplet temperature, or droplet size. With the help of this coating, engines can stand against higher temperature. and engineers can manufacture safer engine for you. And from now on, during your flight, you only will hear, "Dear passengers, we are approaching our destination and we are ready to land. Thank you for being with us."
Thank you, Mohammed. We're halfway through the English presentations. Our next presenter is Sylvie Willette from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Sylvie is pursuing a PhD in chemistry. Her thesis title is Determining Spatial Organization and Localization of a Proposed Enterobactin Metabolon in E. coli. And her 3-minute thesis title is How Do Bacteria Steal Your Iron? Good luck, Sylvie.
Imagine that you're sick with food poisoning. That dreaded E. coli bug, you feel awful. You're aching all over, you have no energy to get out of bed, except perhaps to use the washroom. You get the picture? What if I were to tell you that the bacteria that's infecting you right now is also busy scavenging your iron to use for its own needs? Yes, the bacteria is stealing your iron at the time you need it the most to keep up your strength. But how does it do that? Well, as a biochemist, that's the focus of my research. What we know is that bacteria such as E. coli or Salmonella can manufacture and secrete compounds that travel around your body and capture your iron. What we also know is that in E. coli, for instance, these compounds are made through the concerted action of 6 proteins. But what we don't know, what I aim to find out, is how these proteins arrange themselves in 3D space. It's very much like building a jigsaw puzzle where you have all the pieces in front of you, but you don't have the final image of what it should look like. And you see, from the moment we can figure out how these proteins arrange themselves, then we can start looking into ways of disrupting the assembly. In the lab, the way we do this is through probing for protein-protein interactions. Again, just like my jigsaw puzzle earlier, we try to see whether protein A fits with B, B fits with C, and so on and so forth. And through process of elimination, eventually, I will yield a big picture. The methods we use are many. For instance, when 2 proteins interact, this generates a tiny amount of heat. Tiny micro degrees. But we have instruments that can detect and measure this. We can also use chemicals that will lock the proteins as they interact. And then through extraction and analysis, we can confirm that there was an interaction. And from the moment we confirm there was an interaction, then we can use computer software to figure out what the landscape of the interaction, where the hotspot is that is crucial to the interaction. And this, in turn, will allow the drug development to devise compounds to stop this from happening. What I have at the moment is some pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together. What I need, and what I aim for, is a big picture. Figure out how it all comes together, what the weaknesses are, and then ultimately devise new drugs to disrupt it, stop the magnet from being made, put an end to the infection. Until then, wash your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvie. Our next presenter is Durai Shelvan Raju from the Gina Cody School of Engineering and Computer Science. Durai is pursuing a PhD in mechanical engineering. His thesis title is Detection, Isolation, and Characterization of Extracellular Nanocargos for Early Stage Detection of Cancer. And his 3-minute thesis title is Engineered Gold Particles to Detect Nanocargos. Good luck, Durai.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Please go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, I'm sorry. In April 2009, on a Sunday early morning, one of my friends called up to inform that one of our great friend has passed away. He was diagnosed with cancer at his last stage and he just lived only 15 days after that. This is due to the existing techniques like tissue biopsy. The diagnosis is possible only after the clinical symptoms appear, often at the very late stage of cancer. Virtually, there are no methods available for an early stage diagnosis of cancer. Researchers have found that liquid biopsy as an alternative to tissue biopsy. In liquid biopsy, body fluid such as blood or saliva are used and they can be sampled as many times as required. These body fluids contain nanoentities called the exosomes or microvesicles which are discharged by the cells. They are the nanocargos for cell-to-cell communication with lot of molecular information on it. Just to give a size perspective of these nanoparticles, a sharpened tip of a pencil can accommodate tens of thousands of them. However, in the 1980s, the medical field used to ignore them as cellular wastage as it was technically challenging to separate them from the body fluids. Presently, they are considered as important nanovesicle as they contain cancer-carrying biomarkers useful for precision clinical treatment and clinical outcome. As a doctoral student in mechanical engineering, the research challenge is to develop methodologies to find and extract the nanovesicles from the body fluid to know the status of cancer. In the developed method, cold nanoparticles are formed on a glass slide which are nano-engineered to selectively attach these nanocargos. But under a light source, the cold nanoparticles alone provide a specific peak wavelength. A further shift in the peak wavelength is observed when these nanovesicles get attached to the gold nanoparticles. The whole process is speedy and it takes less than an hour and you need just a drop of blood. The extracted nanovesicle from the body fluid contain lot of molecular information from which a cancer and a non-cancer stage can be differentiated. Hence, the developed method empowering liquid biopsy has shown a lot of hope and can be further improved for clinical application. Unfortunately, my friend passed away as he was diagnosed only at the last stage of cancer. Once the liquid biopsy tool comes into existence for clinical application, early stage detection of cancer is possible. Henceforth, in the future, the survival of our loved ones ending up with cancer can be further extended. Thank you.
Thank you, Durai. Our next presenter is Marc-Andre Argentino from the School of Graduate Studies. Marc-Andre is pursuing his PhD in the Individualized Program. His thesis title is The Use of Propaganda and Conspiracy Theories by Extremist Groups, the Implications to National Security, Public Health, and Democratic Institutions. And his 3-minute thesis title is Tearing Down the Mask of Falsehoods. Good luck, Marc-Andre.
First, there was the pandemic. Then came the infodemic, a term the head of the World Health Organization uses to define the spread of false information about COVID-19. Now, you may know people who believe in COVID-19 conspiracy theories or disinformation, but what you may not know is that some of the most dangerous of these stem from the QAnon movement. QAnon conspiracy theorists believe that a deep state satanic organization of global elites is responsible for all the evil in the world. They also believe that these same elites are seeking to bring down President Trump, whom QAnon perceive as the world's only hope in defeating the deep state. As a researcher of online extremist communities like QAnon, I use a combination of data science and digital ethnography, whereby I spend months in extremist communities with QAnon believers on Twitter and Facebook and Telegram to better understand how they use technology to create propaganda, recruit members, inspire active violence, and impact our democratic institutions. QAnon has now brought this conspiracist mindset to the coronavirus crisis, For months now, actors in the QAnon community have downplayed the severity of the virus, amplified medical disinformation, been the originator of hoaxes, and the source of violent extremism. A central component of the QAnon conspiracy theory is the crowdsourcing of narratives. This bottom-up approach provides a fluid and ever-changing ideology. My social media analysis since the start of the pandemic has shown that QAnon content on Twitter has increased by 71%, and on Facebook it has increased by 651%. This means that disinformation from QAnon has a growing capacity to reach and influence an ever-growing audience. And this is not surprising. QAnon has played a role in large disinformation campaigns in the past months about 5G, which has led to offline violence in both Canada and the UK. They played a key role in making the anti-vaxxer documentary Plandemic go viral. And QAnon, in one case, even inspired an individual to drive from Illinois to New York to attempt to kill presidential candidate Joe Biden. The QAnon movement has created an environment of complacency amongst its followers, and they aren't taking the risk posed by the virus seriously. My findings highlight that there's a key difference between other conspiracy theorists and QAnon believers. QAnon believers are not your typical tinfoil hat-wearing basement dwellers. The QAnon conspiracy is being spoken at the highest levels of power, when it wasn't long ago, conspiracy theories were the pastime of the powerless. In 2019, the FBI called conspiracy theories spread by QAnon and others a potential domestic terrorism threat. It's time to call the QAnon infodemic a public health threat and take the threat they pose seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Marc-Andre. Our next presenter is Maysam Efati from the Gina Cody School of Engineering and Computer Science. Maysam is pursuing his PhD in electrical and computer engineering. His thesis title is Energy Efficient Trajectory Planning for Skid Steer Rovers. And his 3-minute thesis title is Energy Efficient Trajectory Planning for Space Rovers. Good luck, Maysam.
What if the next pandemic wipes out all humans' life on Earth? Wouldn't it be great if we had a colony on Mars to continue our civilization? Stephen Hawking believed we have only 100 years to inhabit another planet or face extinction. In addition, we benefit on Earth from the Mars exploration challenges, which led us to have tools and devices such as CT scans, portable computers, wireless headsets, to name but a few. There are several ongoing research projects for Mars explorations conducted by a variety of agencies, including Canadian Space Agency. However, the problem is that the investigations are very costly, and we are looking for ways to reduce the cost. Actually, we want a rover which is simple to operate, energy efficient, and computationally efficient. As a PhD researcher, I focus on energy efficient path planning for a type of rovers called skid steers. Actually, the rovers which are simple to build and operate are skid steers. They are highly mobile, extremely reliable, and not likely to break down. But not every path that the skid steer rover takes is energy efficient. For example, jagged path consumes up to 2 times energy compared to a smooth path. To figure out how to drive it intelligently, I could use AI, which is trending nowadays, but it consumes high volume of computational power to solve the problem mathematically. Since the computer on a rover sent to Mars typically has less computational power even than your cell phone, using AI detracts from the overall goal of computational efficiency. So I used a proved mathematical theory, applied it to my energy efficient path planning problem, and got its answer. As a result, instead of testing hundreds and hundreds different paths to optimally overcome a certain situation, with my new findings, there are only 20 paths that should be tested. This means less computational intensity for onboard computers, less battery usage, and less money invested. Now, skid steer rovers can drive in truly intelligent way without it having to spend so much time thinking. Because during the years that I have spent to do my PhD, I have done all the thinking so that the rover doesn't have to. Thank you.
Thank you, Maysam. Our final presenter in the English competition is Anne-Marie Turcotte from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Anne-Marie is pursuing a PhD in sociology and anthropology. Her thesis title is Breaking Windows, investigating an act of property destruction committed by Nunavut youth. And her 3-minute thesis title is If a Window is Broken and Nobody Hears, Does It Make a Sound? Good luck, Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Zarina. So try to forget for one moment today's hot weather and imagine we're wintertime. So how would you feel if you came home today and saw that one of your house's windows had been broken and you had to wait until summer for someone to replace it? Well, this is very common in Nunavik, the Inuit territory in the north of Quebec. The subject of my research concerns Inuit youth breaking windows. Perhaps you might find that this is kind of a particular subject, but what you might not know is that the government of Quebec spends $10 million annually to repair damages caused by vandalism in Nunavik. And that in Nunavik, the breaking of windows is the most common form of property destruction. In fact, close to 2,000 windows must be replaced every year because youth throw rocks at them. So youth are making all this noise breaking windows, maybe to try and express something, and nobody seems to be listening. So through my research, I am looking at this very specific act of property destruction, the breaking of windows, to find out more about youth's experiences in relation to housing, but also more broadly about their experiences in their environment. So for the past 16 years, I have been an art instructor in different youth centers across the 14 villages of Nunavik. And because I already have this relationship with the Nunavik Youth Houses Association, an organization entirely led by Inuit youth who are responsible for managing the youth centers in Nunavik, I am doing my research in collaboration with them. So the youth that are participating in my research are aged from 6 to 25 years old. So in addition to doing ethnographic work, so spending time in the youth centers, trying to learn with youth, I am using an arts-based approach to collect data. So that means that I spent 2 months in 2 different communities organizing arts activities with youth as well as spending time with them. So together with them, we have organized different sorts of arts activities. We have done storytelling, we have created memes, we even organized youth-led tours where youth led me across their communities to explain to me where they spend their time, the spaces that were important to them, as well as everything that is important to know about their environment. Of course, we used this time to discuss the building that had broken windows. So in addition currently I am analyzing my data and working on a graphic novel that will be distributed across the communities so that the research results are very accessible to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. This concludes the presentations in the English categories. I will now hand the mic to Nadine, who will introduce our finalists in the French categories.
Et donc, notre première participante pour la compétition Ma thèse en 180 secondes, c'est Isabelle Guillard, dans la Faculty of Fine Arts. Isabelle complète son doctorat en art-éducation. Le titre de sa thèse est L'éco-art, une éducation artistique relative au développement durable pour les jeunes. Le titre de sa présentation, Gravure au laser sur bois représentant un coquillage de la Syrie, réalisé par une élève de 4e secondaire. Bonne chance, Isabelle.
Les changements climatiques sont un d'agir sont créatifs près des gens demeurent peu développés, puisqu'on le retrouve uniquement dans le cours optionnel de sciences de 4e secondaire. Pourtant, les arts sont reconnus par l'UNESCO comme étant le 4e pilier du développement durable. Depuis une trentaine d'années, les institutions et organismes culturels sollicitent les artistes en art contemporain pour répondre à des questions reliées à l'environnement. Étant enseignante en arts plastiques, j'ai toujours pensé que l'éducation artistique pouvait outiller les jeunes afin de trouver des solutions par la création et la sensibilité esthétique. Le but de mon projet de recherche est d'analyser la contribution des artistes dans l'élaboration d'un curriculum axé sur les pratiques éco-art. Avec une équipe de 3 enseignants et 3 artistes du programme La culture à l'école du ministère de l'Éducation et de l'Enseignement supérieur, j'ai coordonné la réalisation de 3 projets éco-art auprès de 6 classes d'élèves âgés de 13 à 17 ans sur une période de 7 mois. L'un des projets dont j'ai décidé de vous présenter aujourd'hui consiste en des gravures au laser sur bois réalisées avec l'artiste en art numérique Manuel Chantre. À partir de l'exploration de matières premières, les élèves ont fait des dessins d'observation, des recherches sur les qualités et caractéristiques et écrit un texte poétique qui illustre une histoire personnelle et significative en lien avec un matériau de leur choix. Sur cette diapositive, vous pouvez voir une gravure au laser sur bois d'un coquillage de la Syrie, un pays qu'une élève a dû quitter avec sa famille à cause de la guerre. Un autre élève s'est inspiré d'une roche de Auschwitz pour parler de ses origines polonaises et de la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. Donc, qu'est-ce que ces projets éco-arts ont pu développer comme compétences au niveau pédagogique? D'abord, les élèves ont partagé des connaissances sur leurs expériences de vie et le monde qui les entoure, à prendre conscience des matériaux qu'ils utilisent et leur empreinte écologique, et à optimiser les technologies. Donc, ce modèle d'enseignement servira de référence pour les enseignants afin de développer des stratégies et des pratiques ainsi que des actions qui répondent à un développement durable pour les jeunes en arts plastiques. Merci.
Merci Isabelle. On a eu un petit problème technique et on ne t'entendait pas très bien pour la première minute. Donc, est-ce que ça serait possible pour toi de reprendre juste la première minute de ta présentation?
Oui, c'est possible. La première minute? Donc la première minute, c'est bien ça?
Oui, s'il te plaît, Isabelle, merci.
OK, parfait. Les changements climatiques sont un enjeu majeur par rapport à notre humanité. Donc, malgré cette urgence d'agir, son volet éducatif auprès des jeunes dans les programmes scolaires demeure peu développé, puisqu'on le retrouve uniquement dans les cours optionnels de sciences de 4e secondaire. Donc, pourtant, les arts sont reconnus par l'UNESCO comme étant le 4e pilier du développement durable. Donc, depuis une trentaine d'années, les institutions et les organismes culturels sollicitent les artistes en art contemporain pour répondre à des questions environnementales. Étant enseignante en art plastique, j'ai toujours pensé que l'éducation artistique pouvait outiller les jeunes afin de trouver des solutions par la création et la sensibilité esthétique. Donc, le but de mon projet de recherche est d'analyser la contribution des artistes dans l'élaboration d'un curriculum éco-art. Alors, avec une équipe de 3 enseignants et 3 artistes du programme La culture à l'école du ministère de l'Éducation et de l'Enseignement supérieur, j'ai coordonné 3 projets éco-art auprès de 6 classes d'élèves âgés de 13 à 17 ans sur une période de 7 mois. Donc, l'un des projets dont j'ai décidé de vous parler aujourd'hui consiste en la réalisation de gravures au laser sur bois, réalisées avec l'artiste en art numérique Manuel Chantre. Donc, à partir de l'exploration de matières premières, Les élèves ont fait des dessins d'observation, des recherches sur les qualités et caractéristiques et écrit un texte poétique qui raconte une histoire personnelle et significative en lien avec un matériau de leur choix. Donc, sur cette diapositive, vous pouvez voir une gravure au laser sur bois qui représente un coquillage de la Syrie, un pays qu'une élève a dû quitter avec sa famille à cause de la guerre. Un autre élève s'est inspiré d'une roche de Auschwitz pour parler de ses origines polonaises et de la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. Est-ce que
Merci Isabelle.
OK.
Super.
Merci beaucoup. Merci de ta flexibilité. C'est les risques qu'on prend avec notre format virtuel. Donc, on va passer à notre dernière, ultime participante de la journée. Il s'agit de Vanessa Marzirossian de la School of Graduate Studies. Vanessa complète son doctorat dans le programme individualisé. Le titre de sa thèse est « La face cachée de la matière, une écolittératie du vêtement par une approche moléculaire de la couleur dans une pratique éco-responsable du design textile ». Le titre de sa présentation, « Des couleurs saines pour un corps sain ». Bonne chance, Vanessa.
J'ai une petite question à vous poser, qui nous concerne tous en fait. Savez-vous d'où vient la couleur de vos vêtements? Elle est quand même en contact permanent avec notre peau. Pourtant, elle n'est pas si inoffensive. Selon plusieurs études scientifiques, les produits toxiques contenus dans les teintures synthétiques que nous portons peuvent interagir avec l'organisme. En tant que designer textile, ces révélations m'ont interpellée, car la couleur est mon outil de travail depuis plus de 20 ans. Ma première idée a été d'élaborer un discours art-science entre le design, la chimie et la santé environnementale. L'objectif de ma thèse est de développer... Il y a un problème avec la... L'objectif de ma thèse... Est-ce que c'est correct?
Je t'encourage à continuer.
Oui, il n'y a plus la... L'objectif de ma thèse est de développer des teintures non toxiques, accompagnées par l'expertise d'un chimiste. Au départ, j'utilise mon processus créatif pour élaborer une écolittératie du vêtement. Écolittératie, qu'est-ce que c'est, me direz-vous? C'est une culture écologique en design qui permet de comprendre l'impact de nos productions sur les écosystèmes. Par exemple, si laver mes vêtements favorise le rejet de molécules toxiques dans l'eau avec le risque de pénétrer la chaîne alimentaire, je dois m'assurer dès le départ que mes teintures ne contiennent aucun composé toxique. J'ai donc développé un protocole exploratoire afin de créer des teintures naturelles en utilisant un minimum de ressources. Pour la première étape, je recycle des déchets alimentaires qui permettent l'obtention de jaune ou de rose à partir d'oignons ou d'avocats. Pour la deuxième étape, j'utilise des micro-organismes issus de lacs ou de sol qui permettent l'obtention de rouge ou de bleu à température ambiante et avec très peu d'eau. Au cours de mes expériences, j'ai remarqué que ces bactéries produisaient des teintures plus ou moins foncées selon les nutriments sucrés, salés ou acides que je leur fournissais. Je peux donc influencer la production de couleurs des bactéries selon la façon dont je les nourris. C'est génial! C'est là que j'ai eu l'idée de croiser ces deux procédés. La combinaison des bactéries et des déchets alimentaires permet l'obtention de palettes colorées beaucoup plus riches et variées. Jusqu'à présent, l'oignon, qui produisait du jaune, produit, grâce aux bactéries, des teintures variant de l'orange au rouge. Jusqu'à présent, des analyses chimiques réalisées en laboratoire suggèrent que mes teintures végétalo-bactériennes ne contiennent pas de produits toxiques, ce qui est plutôt encourageant, car à l'heure où les maladies environnementales touchent de plus en plus de gens, s'intéresser à l'aspect moléculaire de la couleur, surtout celle en contact avec notre peau, n'est pas juste une question de mode, mais un acte de prévention. Grâce à cette démarche innovante qui allie règne végétal et bactérien, art et science, ma recherche en biodesign contribue au développement de teintures sécuritaires que nous pourrons porter demain. Alors bientôt, vous le saurez d'où vient la couleur de vos vêtements. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Vanessa. Et merci aussi d'avoir été flexible. On s'en est presque sorti. Dans les dernières présentations, on a eu des petits problèmes techniques. So now I'm going to give the floor back to Serena.
Hi everyone. This concludes the doctoral level presentations. Judges will now leave the room to make their decision. Thanks to all the presenters for their engaging presentations. We invite you to take a moment to vote for your favorite doctoral presentation. We'll post a link in the chat box and on Facebook. Please click on the link to cast your vote. You'll have 5 minutes to cast your vote. Please stand by and we'll be back shortly.
The voting is now closed, and while waiting for the final decisions of the judges, we've prepared a special treat for you. So throughout the preparation that goes into the 3MT, we asked some of our participants to share their thoughts and growing pains with us while preparing for the competition. And so 5 out of our 19 participants filmed themselves at different points in the journey. And so this is both before the COVID-19 lockdowns and after the preparation and the coaching went online. And we've made a collage of these short clips, which really shows you something of the process and the immense work that went into the presentations that you just saw. And so without further ado, let's see if we can share that and take a look now.
Hi all, the story I am going to tell begins on June 2019. At that time, I have just applied for an admission in Concordia University. And one day, while I was going through the university website, something really caught my attention. It was this news that Canada's 3-minute thesis competition has been won by a Concordian. This really made me curious. We, the graduate students, mostly remain busy with our research. But you know, when we try to convey our research content to public for anyone, that gives a really very good feeling. And that is what I am learning from 3-minute thesis competition. And the time you need to commit for this is quite minimal. You can consider it as a part of your education and your learning. So please join us there. Thank you. Hi, we are having our 3rd coaching session today. And just like the previous 2 sessions, this one is also so enlightening. We have worked with our scripts. Today we are learning how to fine-tune our body language and stage appearance. The coaches are helping us a lot. The final of the contest is coming very soon, so please stay tuned with us. We look forward to see you all there. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Erica Pimentel, and this is the 2nd journal of my 3MT journey. So I just got back from the first orientation session, and the format is a little bit different than what I was expecting. Actually, I think that it's far more structured, and I feel quite relieved because at a minimum, we have to do 3 coaching sessions, and you could really attend as many as you want to. So I think I'm going to take advantage and attend more than 2 just because I'm a little bit anxious about doing something that's so different from anything I've ever done, certainly in my professional life before. At this next stage, I really want to learn how to translate my research into a story and how to help connect with people at a human level through my research. And I think the coaches are going to help me craft my message. And this is something that's not just valuable for the 3MT. I mean, this is something that's valuable for your thesis, but even for getting a grant, getting funding, speaking to the media, just talking to potential research participants, telling a story about why your research is meaningful is such a valuable skill that if that is the only thing I get out of this, then I think it's certainly worthwhile. Hi, so I just got back from my 2nd coaching session, and one of the things that stuck with me was the way the coaches helped me translate my idea from something very domain specific to something that has an interest for the greater public. And I think that's what research is all about. It's getting people to engage, to start a conversation about your research and understand its timeliness and why they really should care. And I appreciate the coaches helping me do that. Today's session was really learning how to use your language, how to use your body, how to use visuals to tell a story. Because if you only care about content, then half the message is lost.
My name is Josh. I'm a master's student in biology, and today I completed my first coaching session for the 3-minute thesis competition, and it was absolutely fantastic. You know, they gave me good, solid ideas of how to dilute the complexity of my research, and that in itself was quite rewarding, and I'm looking forward to the next coaching session and the actual competition itself. I'm going to make a lot of friends and learn a lot of new things. I just finished another coaching session for the 3-minute thesis competition, and yeah, I feel less nervous, more like a racehorse. You know, they gave me a better focus, and now I'm able to tunnel more of my ideas and kind of really get it going. I feel much more comfortable with my speech, and definitely looking forward to my next coaching session and the dry run. Now I just have to practice, and make sure I get a lot of good sleep. Thank you. And this rate will continue to rise to 152 million people by the year 2050. This is a disease that is tricky to treat because of something called the blood-brain barrier, the gateway between our brain and our bloodstream that prevents drugs from entering our brain. However, researchers have discovered a possible way, the Trojan horse, to revolutionize how we can treat this disease.
Doing this, I'm looking at the cameraman, but then maybe I'll step and I'll do maybe the second step will be this. I'll stay here for maybe a couple of seconds, and then I go, and you're comforted, then maybe you move, and maybe you can write down on your scripts. When I finish this paragraph, I can move to the second area, and maybe I can just look at this pause for like 20 minutes.
So today, I learned how we can use our bodies as an effective tool to communicate. I'm not just going to be standing up there just talking, but I'll also be using my hands, my eyes, my lips, and my body, the rest of my body to actually communicate effectively in my speech. And that's what I learned about today. My nerves are starting to settle, and I'm actually starting to take it easy and get more fun out of this entire experience. So I'm looking forward to what happens next. Thank you.
Part of the writing process for me really revolved around getting the main ideas out there. So I wanted to make sure that, you know, besides the methodologies, I wanted the general interest to be there. So obviously this is a 3-minute talk. You want to grab people right away. And so the hook was really important. I definitely need to work on the meat, so I was told, of the presentation. So I'm going to get the methodologies going and kind of outline exactly what my research is in specific.
This was my second feedback session today that I just had. Compared to the first one, I think they were a little bit more harsh on me. I thought we were supposed to be talking about body language, but they really just went in hard on the lack of specificity in my methodology. So I had tried to build up a bit of a background in terms of what my experiment entails, but in the end I'm going to need to dive even deeper into the detail and explain actually what's going to happen almost minute by minute throughout what the experiment is going to be. So that's my main focus now in the next week, to really hone that in, make sure that the intro and conclusion are really similar thematically so that I can tie things together, make a nice sandwich, and ensure that I can prove to people why this is important and interesting research.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Cheslyn and I'm going to get right down to it. The reason why I enrolled in the 3-minute thesis competition is because I know that my voice matters and it's totally erased, invisibilized, or underrepresented or misrepresented at best. As a queer person of color who uses advocacy as academic and academic work as advocacy work, my project is all about using the digital space so that it can become a form of deconstruction, of decolonization, of co-construction of racialized indigenous oral stories and literature and power and culture. I have experience in public speaking, however, I was never trained for it. I've had coaching in creativity and in writing. I feel many things, stressed, sometimes overwhelmed. Oh my God, I can't believe that you're doing this and that you signed up for this. I feel exposed, I feel vulnerable, and at the same time, I feel proud, I feel happy, and I feel a sense of urgency, as if now is the time for this kind of work to come to light. If I were to talk about my expectations, I would say that I want personally to be able to incarnate my own emotional courage, which means to be able to utilize spaces that are institutionalized as a means for the intersectionality of academics and advocacy work to come together as one. And I want my work to be a conversation starter in that regard. Lastly, about the time commitment, I would say anywhere between 0 to an hour, because I know in my heart of hearts that I have a good foundation, you know, my skeleton is great, but I feel different elements are missing and that they're kind of working against the overall quality and potential of my work. And that's why I know that it needs fine tuning. Thank you very much. Bye.
Imagine one fine morning, you wake up and suddenly you notice something abnormal in your skin. That can make you anxious because skin cancer is currently the most common form of cancer in North America.
As far, I have to say, what I really like is that you were really looking at the camera the whole time. So that was really good. I think the lighting is good. But I remember when you were doing it in class, when we were doing it in person, you were moving a lot. You had more body language. And I only saw your hand moving like this a couple of times. So you can
So those are one of the most iconic opening words into one of our greatest contemporary novels of all time. It's written in Haitian Creole. But you know what the irony of it all is that very few Haitian Creole native speakers can actually read and write in their own indigenous language.
I like the opening. I agree with Raja that we have to make it a little bit slower. And then maybe contextualize the Haitian Creole a little bit earlier, like, so it just puts us where we're at right away.
Okay, well, so that was lovely. I feel like that was a little bit of a trip down memory lane for some of us. So we have a couple of more minutes here. So I have a few questions that I prepared for our participants, and so maybe we can see how much time we have, and we'll at least do one of those. So, you know, thinking about your experience, looking at the video, maybe getting some you know, some memories back. Let me ask Vanessa. Vanessa, if you could unmute yourself. So, you know, for you, thinking back on your experience, thinking back on the 3MT, what were some of the challenges that you experienced? How did you overcome those?
First, it was very hard to remember my speech, like 3 minutes, and also stay lively about it. So what really helped me, it was to tell myself the speech while I was biking, for example, or walking, or, you know, being in movement. Really, I found it really helpful. And also practicing through with friends, with colleagues, and each friend, each colleague always spotted something that I could improve in my speech. And of course, the coaching session was really great. So I learned a lot through this experience. Thanks.
Wonderful, thank you. And thank you for your presentation. So let me move on to another question. Maybe I'll ask the question and then I'll ask one of our participants or whoever wants to answer it to, you know, lift their hand up or wave so that we can tell you to unmute yourself. So let's see, how about this? Do you feel, like reflecting on your 3MT experience, do you feel that it has in any way changed you personally, or that you can take the skills that you applied in this competition and apply them to other areas of your life? So anybody who has a thought? Okay, so Bettina, could you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, hi. And that's actually a really great question. I think one of the core reasons why I entered 3MT is because I have a lot of things to say, and 3MT really helped me to focus on my main message. And when you're talking to people who know nothing about art education or art science or aliens, you know, I can get into a lot of detail and sort of get lost in it. And all these coaching sessions really helped me to focus on the essentials of my research, because the feedback you gave me is going like, well, you're saying a lot here, but what you're not talking about is, for example, a methodology. And it's like, I never thought about that. So I now have this great little package, like this 3-minute package that I can now deliver throughout the rest of my PhD experience, and to anybody who asks me, what's your PhD about? So thank you for that.
Right. So instead of having to launch into the 20 or 30-minute version of let me give you the background. Wonderful. I think that's something that a lot of participants can relate to. So we have the winners. So I'm going to mute myself and turn it back over to Serena.
Hi, everyone. So before we announce the winners, let me share my screen. All right. So before we announce the winners, let's give all the presenters another round of applause for their amazing presentations. Well job, everyone. So the time we've been waiting for has finally arrived. It's time to reveal the winners. So I would like to invite Mr. Inder Bedi to present the Masters runner-up and the Masters winner.
Hello. Would like to thank everyone, first of all, for participating. A lot of preparation work obviously went into all these presentations. For the Masters presentation, the runner-up is Joshua Oliver for They Shall Pass, and the winner is Cheslene Pierre-Paul for Positive Visibility. These were all interesting and informative works, which actually gave me several topics to think about a bit more on a personal level. So congratulations to our runner-up winner, and of course, everyone for doing such a fine job.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Joshua and Cheslene. So now I would like to invite Dr. Amanda Rossi to present the PhD runner-up, PhD winner for the English competition, and the PhD winner for the French competition.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Amanda, perhaps before we launch into the PhD winners, all of us here on Zoom can unmute ourselves and give a big round of applause to all of the MA presentations and the winners collectively. Thanks very much.
Very well deserved. Those were excellent presentations. So just a couple of reflections, if I may, before I start on the presentation of the winners in the PhD category. It's such a pleasure for me to participate in this and really once again get a little bit down into the science and into all of the research that's happening at the university. I think Concordia is such an amazing place to be doing research, and which is why I stayed for so long myself. We had such a variety of different presentations, and it's been really eye-opening to see how everybody's working on current events, from disinformation to women in STEM, and sort of helping to foster more pedagogical encouragement of women to participate, or girls to participate. It's really been a pleasure to hear all of your presentations and to be part of this. So without any more of me talking about how fun this has been, the runner-up of the PhD category, Sylvie Ouellette, with her presentation, How Do Bacteria Steal Your Iron? Congrats, Sylvie. The winner of the PhD category is Erica Pimentel, What Do You Do? Bravo, Erica. And finally, on the French side, so for the Mathèse 180 winner is Vanessa Marie-Josienne. Pour un corps. Congratulations to everybody.
Congratulations, everyone. And finally, I would like to invite Mr. Sujan Susaitis to present the Masters and Doctoral People's Choice Awards.
Hey guys, first thank you everyone for all the preparation and all the work that you guys did. I think it came across really well. I personally was impressed in terms of the different scales and types of projects that I've seen. I think it's quite fascinating, the work that's being done, and I encourage you guys to pursue your passion and your interests. I definitely saw that come across there. I also want to mention that from the judges, I think the winners from the top ranks there, they were separated literally by decimal points. So it was pretty close. So I think all of you guys did a fantastic job, and I just wanted to take the time to congratulate you guys again for the good job you've done. So the PhD People's Choice Award goes to...
Oh, could we start with the masters first?
Oh, the masters?
Sorry.
Sure, give me a second here. Yep, so for the masters, the winner is Sarah, if I'm not mistaken, Sarah Raimi. Good job, Sarah. I think it was a really interesting project there in terms of comparing the CEOs there. So congratulations to Sarah. And then for the PhD People's winner, it is Isan. Yes, Damphana, yes, over them. Sorry if I butchered your name there, but congratulations to you, Isan. Good job.
Congratulations, everyone. And thank you so much to our judges. So before we celebrate the presenters' achievements today, there are some important people to thank for their help throughout this process. First, we'd like to thank the presenters who shared with us today the important research they're doing at Concordia. Your presentations today are a testament to the wonderful work that's taking place at Concordia, and I'm sure I can speak for everyone by saying that they were fascinating and insightful. And we'd like to thank our judges, again, for generously offering their time and for accepting the challenge of deciding the winners. Special thank you to our guest coaches, Dr. Peter Pawelek, Associate Dean of Student Affairs and Postdoctoral Studies, Dr. Rachel Berger, Graduate Program Director for the Individualized Program and Judge for the 2019 Three Minute Thesis Competition, Dr. Erin Korber, Graduate Career Advisor at McGill University, Nilofar Muradi, Project Engineer at Pratt & Whitney and the Judge for the 2019 Three Minute Thesis Competition, Nusha Arezi, the 2019 Canada's national winner for the 3 Minute Thesis Competition. We'd also like to thank the GradProSkills coaches, Nadine, Pamela, Rasha, and all of the GradProSkills ambassadors. And last but not least, I'd like to thank you all for being here with us today, encouraging the innovative research at Concordia University. It's great to have you here to share the research passion of our competitors. This concludes our 2020 3 Minute Thesis Competition, but we will be back in 2021. And we hope to see you next year as we continue to celebrate graduate research at Concordia. Thank you.
Thank you, Zarina. On behalf of all of us at FourSpace, I'd like to thank you all again. That was like watching a marathon. So congratulations to all the winners, everyone who presented today in this new and in many ways kind of challenging format. Thank you to the MCs and the judges and to everyone for attending and supporting Concordia's MA and PhD researchers. A recording of this full event will be available on @CU4Space on Facebook and on our website, concordia.ca/4, hopefully later today, if not early tomorrow morning. Before you go, if we could borrow 1 more minute of your time and invite you to answer the survey that I've pasted in the chat and which will also open in your browser after this. We'd be very grateful for more of your feedback. So thanks so much, everyone, and see you next time.